Good day, everybody. Welcome to Zelda Speedruns and welcome to The Link to the Past No Major Glitches League Season number 3. It's always Season 3. And we have a double feature today. Round 3 of the Desert Palace Division and the Eastern Palace Division. Chexhuman going up against Krithel and RadicalSniper going up against Kaesden. Without further ado, let's switch over and let's hand it to our comms, to Clearmouse and to Rob J. Beasley. Take it away, it's all yours.
Yeah, thanks, Truz. Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm looking forward to two good races here.
Oh, yeah, and we got, as Truz had mentioned, a double header, and we are very fortunate to be able to feature them actually all in one restream. 4 people together in one screen can actually be a lot, but luckily this is all the same category. It's all NMG. The PBs of these 4 runners are, within a couple minutes of each other. I think from fastest to I guess the least fast. So actually, yeah, as you said, actually should be a very, very good race between the 4 of them.
So on the left-hand side of the screen here, we have Chexhuman versus Krithel. That's in the Desert Palace division. I think they're both 1-1 in the league, so this is playing to have a winning record. And on the right here, we have RadicalSniper and Kaesden, who are 0-2 in the Eastern Palace division, so they're playing to come not last.
Yeah, it's and honestly, granted, the NMG has been around. The Speedrun, has been around for quite some time. I don't know, it doesn't ever seem to get old, I guess, in terms of saying everyone here who actually made the league or whatnot, especially these are very, very competitive. It used to be, I think, remember when it first started, everyone was the goal of the bar, right, was sub 130 or under 90 minutes. If you can make the run, right, that means that you were amazing. You're probably in the top 20 people. And now it's if you have a sub 130, I don't know, you have maybe top 100, if that. I can check Speedrun.com. But the fact that we just have such a competitive bracket throughout. I think Jesse recently got his PB at 128. This is it's very, very low. It's a very fast time, but it's comparatively speaking, it may not seem as much, but like I said, it's a very competitive league here.
Yeah, for sure. The Link to the Past speedrunning scene has definitely taken off in the last few years. There's a ton of runners, lots of active runners. we've got just 24 runners competing in the league here alone.
Yeah, right. So I think officially, okay, right. So I think there are officially 4 brackets, right? Trice mentioned earlier, Chex and Krithel are racing within the Desert Palace division, which is tier 2. Top 1 being Tower Para. Kaesden and Jesse are racing in the Eastern Palace division, which is tier 3. And then I think there was the Overflow Hyrule Castle division. I think just so nobody was kind of excluded in this case from wanting to participate in league. And I think there were 4 runners, if I'm not mistaken, in that. So I think total of 28 people. But I think that part of the season 3 intentions was to kind of keep it maybe intentionally kind of on the lower side. That being said, top even 28 people is their times are very, very competitive.
Yep, and we're all underway here. We've talked to Uncle, and we're starting off with the escape split. Krithel falling slightly behind and kind of showing us the select menu briefly.
Yes. Yeah. And right. As part of this is the as classic or as traditional of a ROM game whatnot as you can get. This is running on the original Japanese 1.0 version. Part of the reason why we run at least this is most commonly run is we just get to showcase a set of minor glitches would be present in the upcoming speedrun. But that being said, just the name implies, right? It's the original Japanese version because that's what kind of originated. Also the original 1.0 version, right? It was the very first cut. So it's quite as classic in this case. Lots of text boxes, probably not as many quality of life upgrades as you might be more used to if you're playing maybe some of the more, let's say, the randomizer, or maybe some the newer versions on the Switch or something, right? Speaking of the 4, I don't know if there's really this particular part, I guess, of the run of the game really changes that much from platform to platform or version to version. We, as you mentioned, Rob, we have a sword, so certainly we are already upgraded in terms of offense. We do have a boomerang that can definitely speed things up a bit, but in this case, by being able to, well, boom the small key, so we don't have to go all the way over there in order to, waste a couple of extra time going right and then coming back all the way to the left. We are going to see these runners, hopefully, in this case, successfully boomerang the big key, because that actually does save a couple frames, as opposed to, even if you're like super close to it, just saves you the couple extra frames of basically, walking over the key and picking it up. But in terms of otherwise for movement, we are going to be pretty heavily reliant on that D-pad for a little bit, maybe into like the 11-ish minute or so of the run. Jesse needs to be a little bit careful. He is on 1 heart. Ball and Chain Guard is arguably the hardest boss, at least according to checks, in the game. It being only on 3 hearts, your health isn't exactly at a your health is actually quite at a premium. So it's and they do 1 heart of damage each. So Jesse's he should be okay, at least through the escape sequence, but he probably does have to be a little bit careful. Maybe he'll pick up a safety heart. You just don't really want to kind of like take an unexpected hit, basically from like a rat or like a snake or something.
Yeah, sure. And if Chex thinks that Ball and Chain is the hardest boss, he certainly didn't make it look that way. I think he had the cleanest fight of all of them.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's so all 4 of these runners, right? Chex, Krithel, Jesse, Kaesden's put in a ton of time, and even though maybe Jesse took a little bit more damage, I think comparatively speaking to everybody else, in this case, Chex having taken no damage by comparison, everyone makes it just look so much easier than it is. It's almost kind of like a rhythm. It's not just like them like getting lucky with like RNG, right, and just like mashing the sword slashes. It actually is rhythm, and actually basically kind of reading like some of the enemy RNGs to be able to react. Like the Ball and Chain Guard, if you ever just try casually, it's actually checks may not be too far off from the truth.
Yes, for sure. They make it look a lot easier than it really is. You've got to time the sword slashes so that you're not pressing the button too soon. Like if you press B while you're still slashing, you won't get the next slash as soon as possible. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, it looks like though. So once we in this case rescued Princess Zelda, we have the arduous task of delivering her to, relative safety at least. The back of escape certainly can be quite dangerous. Looks like it's actually not that well attended, despite the fact that there is actually no dust anywhere here, like in the sewers, no like puddles or anything like that. Someone is, I guess, maintaining it, but somehow the pest control is a little bit underfunded, as there are many creatures that can certainly take a bite off of both your health and your time.
Yeah, it looks like Jesse did pick up the safety heart in the first room of the sewers there, which makes a lot of sense in a race, just to make sure you absolutely do not die.
Yeah, no, that's actually very good, observation. Right, specifically as you mentioned, this is a race, and if you're ever maybe doing like PB attempts, maybe something more casual, just trying to get a little bit better of your time, the urge, I guess, to reset, especially in escape, whenever you get hit, nicked, dinged, whatever, by something unexpectedly, it's very easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to restart because it's so early in the run, right? Here, if something happens to you, you don't really have that option because you can't really restart. So certainly very understandable. You know what, Jesse? Good thing he got it. Coming over here, basically risking half a heart, a quarter of a heart is can be quite taxing on the nerves, especially within the first 6 minutes of the run.
Yeah, I think Jesse would have been on a quarter of a heart there without that safety. So definitely makes it a lot less concerning. Looks like none of our runners got rat frames here. They're all having to spend the full time going through these text boxes.
Oh yeah. This is one thing also that another quality of life thing that we really like to ideally go through a little bit faster, but we really can't control under most circumstances. Is it seems like there are a lot of people who like to talk to us, and we would like to not talk to them. We know, but we don't want to seem rude, right? So. Unfortunately, being the hero of Hyrule, Link is very accommodating to give everybody, their soapbox or their piece.
Yeah, that's the thing about silent protagonists, right? They're good listeners.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. Actually, when was the last time you heard Link actually talk? Say words as opposed to grunting noises or getting hit noises or something. Does he even talk in this game? Maybe
I don't
not,
think so.
Right? Okay, yeah. Even Uncle, right? By the time he wakes up, Uncle's like, you know, like, stay in bed. I got, you know, I'm gonna go out, like, but you just stay here in safety. And though he doesn't even get a chance for you to talk back to him, right, or like say anything. And then by the time you get to him in, you know, the front of escape, you know, Uncle's already kind of gasping his last breath, right, doing a good chance to talk. So yeah, actually, that's a very good point.
None of our runners have been able to pick up any rupees yet. I've seen the first 5 rupee drop on a couple of screens, but none of them have been able to pick it up yet. So they're gonna want to grab a drop somewhere. We need to find at least 4 rupees from drops, and then ideally a few more to skip some at trees.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's actually a very good observation. Even right, the wealthiest, I guess, of our 2 runners, Chex and Jesse, have a staggering not 0, 1 rupee to their name versus yes, Krithel and Kaesden. Unfortunately, are still pretty poor. But actually, it's a good observation that you mentioned that you noticed that the rupee prize is kind of like, so the blue rupees kind of have already dropped, but they were unfortunately it's just like too far out of your path, right? So in those cases, you really don't have a opportunity to go get it. So hopefully, in this case, in the future, they'll be able to get a couple, you know, maybe like another drop or 2. Lots of popos in the upcoming, you know, rooms at least. So hopefully, we're going to be able to get, you know, something by the time we get out of Eastern or Desert for that matter.
Yeah, it's like most of the runners here are going to farm this, this popo here for the drop. Looks like Jesse, sort of looks like Kaesden is going to get it at least.
Yeah, that's definitely, it was a very fortunate drop. Yeah, so Jesse looks like, you know what, and Jesse is, you know, is like a penny, what is a rupee saved, is a rupee earned or something. So we're just gonna, you know, claw our way slowly but surely to the 4 rupee mark, 1 at a time. That's also fun. All right, looks like those checks and most of the other runners are kind of out getting the big key out of the big key chest here in Eastern. So all 4 runners are coming out of Sanctuary ended up taking the Sanctuary chest, which did have a heart container, and of course it did refill all of their health, some more noticeable than others. And while this is a, you know, very nice safety to have, especially early game, well, here especially for some of these Igors who do 1 heart of damage, you know, per anytime they hit you. Also really good to have that just a little bit of extra buffer for in order to take some damage boosting in order to hit the switch and then press the switch, or sorry, hit the switch, press it, and then get the chest versus like killing all the enemies dispersing. And not only, of course, does that take like a ton of time. Have you ever tried like maneuvering with all those anti-fairies floating around? Oh man, that is that probably takes up more time than actually just killing everything. So.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't have a clue what a fast strat for that room would look like doing it that way.
Yeah, we're all about moving fast here. Oh, speaking of some really nice drops, though, Krithel's got some nice ones. Chex, unfortunately, oh my. So he didn't get any arrow drops or rupee drops by the time he got into Armos.
Yeah, Krithel got the double from the readies, but also lost the miscellaneous arrows. So those are not going to be an option later.
Okay. No, it's a really good thing that you're observing, keeping an eye on prize packs here. I believe that is actually one of the things that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that just seems like one of those things that runners are kind of constantly like watching out for, just so you know where your kind of like next resources are coming from potentially, and you can kind of plan around that. Or you know, plan around something that's like, oh well, I guess I'm not going to be able to get these arrows or this rupee. Let me take a, you know, like a backup or something. Yeah,
there's just a few things you keep an eye on. Obviously, like the rupee pack early on, and then whether you've had the arrows and or bombs from the miscellaneous pack. Those are like the main things to pay attention to.
Okay, cool. Good to know. All right. Okay, all right, so we have, while I do not ever want to downplay the bow, because it is a very, very important weapon upcoming, especially for Desert Palace, we do, of course, get one of the probably fan favorites, or one of the most coveted items of the entire game. Right around the 11-minute mark, we do get our Pegasus boots. We can now finally move fast. And speaking, of course, of the Japanese 1.0 version, Chex, and of course, Krithel, Kaesden, Jesse, you're going to kind of demonstrate one of the reasons why we want to play on the Japanese 1.0 version is that we can do, in this case, a spin speed. Taking basically the speed of the boots without having to kind of like charge and, you know, pause and then like recharge again, basically, in order to get through that screen very quickly. All of them, I think, got spin speed too, right? On first try, so it was really good.
Yeah, it's really nice to hit that first spin speed of the run, just to sort of set the tone, make sure you hit them going forwards.
Yeah, actually, that's actually a very good point too, because so this run is, let's say, roughly, right, 1 hour, I don't know, like 30, right? It's gonna be a little bit faster probably for these guys, but we're only like 12 minutes in. It's in order to get that first kind of, like, as you said, confidence, like the mental boost, right? Like, okay, it feels like my spin speeds are on today, right? It's not probably it's definitely much more of a morale boost versus it's like I have to keep trying spin speed in order to get it, 3 times. Like, what is this gonna bode for the rest of my run, type of thing.
Yeah, looks like Krithel was the only one who went for the unholy spin speed on the way into library, but he hit that too, and looks like all 4 runners got the library exit spin speed first try as well. So we're 9 out of 9 so far.
Yeah, no, this is actually really, especially in a 4-wave race, right? Like the likelihood of everybody kind of reaching or hitting their spin speeds the first try is actually really quite rare. Not saying that's anything, I guess, like, tailored for the runners or anything like that. It's just that spin speed is just notoriously finicky at times, because it's actually very tight, and especially depending on how much what type of relationship you have with spin speed, could also kind of determine what the later Dark World dungeon paths you end up taking. Like, for example, if you try and want to limit the number of spin speeds you have for the rest of the run, you want to go to Swamp Palace and get the hook shot first, right? Versus maybe some people are more like, okay, I can stand one more spin speed in my run, I can go delay Swamp Palace and go up the mountain instead.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it feels like spin speed just like is a thing that comes and goes. There'll be like a couple of weeks of attempts where I feel like I never miss one, and then I'll have a spell where I like fail 5 in a row.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those runs where, well, if you were probably running, you probably don't, I guess, like, feel the best, but in a race, it's definitely not, not great for your mental health. All right, but we are here in Desert Palace. Luckily, at least, we already got through our spin speeds in this case, for the overworld, so we don't have to do any more of them here. Not that there are really, I guess, like, many stairs you can even, I guess, like, start spin speed with, but this is one of those dungeons where, in this case, it is basically by, I would say, good game design. After you get the boots, you really get to showcase and basically, really exercise and kind of see what the boots are kind of capable of. All these really nice long hallways, where there's like nothing impeding your path. You can just, go.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, Chex is ahead of our forerunners at the moment. He's kind of scrambling for resources right now. Very low arrow count coming out of Eastern, also grabbing the pot rupee there as well to make sure he gets his required ones.
Yeah, that's a very good reminder. Chex was definitely, very, very poor.
Yeah, everyone else did at least have the 5 needed, but it looks like Krithel chose to grab the pot there as well. I think a lot of runners do that if you have less than 9, because getting to skip 1 blue during the tree rupee session is a nice time save.
Yeah, and I think, right, so, like, right, it looks like actually, no one ended up getting the 100 rupees in the case the back of Sahasrala's hut. So it looks like, they're probably going to go for tree rupees. And actually, I didn't actually know this until semi-recently, was that even though, like, you have all of the money that you have, from the rupees, as long as you get, like, the requisite 4, right? If you can get a little bit of extra money to go and get, in order to not pick up, or not having to need to pick up the 4th rupee, I guess, the 4th blue rupee, can save you quite a bit of time, which maybe it's not, like, the most intuitive thing in this case, man. Chex, by the way, like, talking about rupees, Chex got 3 blues from the Popos, all completely out of his way. It's just, it's so tempting.
Yeah, it's the way it is sometimes.
Oh, this case, Jesse though, has got some actually good RNG. Some of the so like that room with the 4 popos, their movement can be a little bit erratic. You kind of want them to kind of bunch up together, just like what Jesse had right by the door, versus them kind of spreading apart, just slightly less time. All right, okay. So speaking of erratic movement, we are here in Landmos with the bow. Probably the one of the nicest looking fights, albeit again these runners all make it look super easy. Chex is, looks like it might end up being a 3 cycle for him, hopefully. Yeah, really nice early 3 cycle on Chex's side. Everyone else is, and I wish I was watching some of these others.
Yeah, you can't really keep track of all 4 at once. Like, Krithel was having I think Krithel was having a nice fight there, but then got a short hop on that last cycle, so this might be a 4.
Yeah, I think I definitely caught the short hop. And right, so the first phase of land moves is actually technically predictable, as in it's one of I think like 24 patterns or something. Everything after that is just you need to react. And well, sometimes the game is nice to you, and lets the land moves basically fly across the screen, get you lots of airtime, and then sometimes just like what Jesse's getting, Krithel got, you got some short hops, you can barely hit one arrow in, and then he's just back into the ground. So.
It looks like only Chex has gone for the menuing to boomerang tech here.
Oh yeah, that's true. Although, the buzz. Oh my gosh, though, Chex is getting so terrible.
And here comes the crab too. All right.
Oh my gosh, dude, that was so dangerous, Rob. All right, I'm glad Chex made it. Yeah, I didn't actually know what was supposed to happen. I mean, the crab, the crabs in general do 2 hearts of damage, right? But also, he was kind of in the realm where he was trying to get a fake flipper in as well, trying to dash into the water. There was a fireball coming in at him. Not really sure what would happen if Chex had gotten hurt while he was in fake flipper state, though. While it is technically not allowed for you to save and quit because it's a race situation, you are in that state because you can soft lock. You are allowed to save and quit, take the time loss and then go back to your house and start over. But luckily that didn't happen for Chex. That would have been an unfortunate. That would have at least been a very comfy dark world for Chex at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Given that, we allow it in races, but yeah, as you say, it's not actually valid for verified runs. And Chex is actually currently like a second ahead of PB here, so it would have been unfortunate to lose the run back then.
Yeah, but so far it looks like kind of with some of the mishaps, but just something like the bad RNG, with the pickle. The pickle, whenever that stuff is actually kind of a bit more punishing. Not quite like Dead Rock level, but you have to stop your dash. You have the electrified animation as well, and then you kind of have to like readjust, right? And Chex ended up having to do this kind of like twice, right? And so just kind of with like this, despite them, having they definitely kind of ate away at his kind of like lead buffer, versus Krithel. And you can kind of show this as the gap has just closed up quite a bit.
We saw a lesser seen safety strat from Kaesden there, the old man talk. Kaesden had been beaten up so much even before old man that he went into the cave and had a bit of a chat for some hearts.
Yeah, again, as you mentioned, this is a race situation, right? Absolutely 100% understandable. You are definitely going to take the, 3-4 second time in order to go refill your health versus... maybe you can still get into Hera, like on, let's say, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 hearts, and then bad things happen, and then you end up having to kind of reset your split in an unexpected time, right? And
for sure.
That's really not what you want.
Obviously, the other option is you can take a death warp in a couple of rooms in Hera to reset your health as well. Although obviously, the worst case scenario there is that you go in with low health and then die after tile room before getting big key and have to redo tile room.
Did Jesse mirror before? He definitely got to the big key room, right? Did he just mirror before opening the chest?
Jesse? No, I think Jesse's only just come in, right? He just mirrored from the small key room.
Oh, okay, right. You were right. Okay, maybe I just missaw.
I definitely have mirrored before grabbing that small key.
Yeah. You're just trying to go fast, and then especially in this case when you want to use your pause buffer, to the mirror with the big key. It's very easy to kind of mash those buttons in the accidental wrong order. Or in this case, you think you've opened the chest, right? And then you're all ready to go, mirror back to the beginning, and then you end up not. Oh no, Chex though. I mean, a little bit of issues here with the beetle room.
Chex needs to hit that switch again, right? I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Or just go this way around, I suppose.
Yep. Oh man, but this is, this is almost exclusive content here. This afternoon, brought to you by ZSR, is that we actually get to see the star, hit on the other side. Basically, you probably didn't even know where all those pits were.
Yeah, it actually shows the difference in time there. Like Krithel basically caught up to Chex in that room.
Oh yeah. All right. Looks like we already got, in this case, so both Chex and Krithel, soon to be Jesse and Kaesden, did their Hera bomb jump. And so basically, instead of doing the developer intended way of, in this case, hitting the start screen, up here at the top, dropping down, we're just gonna, hop right on over, saving us actually quite a bit of time.
Yeah,
of course,
really, we saw some really bad Kodongo RNG on Krithel's side there. Actually, I think this is the first time in a race I've ever seen someone take like the long way around on that left-hand side of the room that you can walk to the bottom and then dash up. Ooh.
Oh no, Chex! Oh no. Oh, that is a really unfortunate. Yeah, so I know he got hit.
Jesse has the same peg layout as Chex did as well. They've both been.
Really?
They both had the switch run.
Oh no. Well, I guess for what it's worth, if you want to, I don't know. Some people like to have the switch down. I guess it's just for safety hearts. I know Chex went into the fight, I think, with 2 hearts. Did take an initial earlier hit with Moldorm, and then unfortunately, Moldorm just got the better of him. So he is going to end up taking a second stab, literally at Moldorm. Meanwhile, though, Krithel has successfully dispelled his Moldorm along with Kaesden. And so they are going to go and head over to the Lost Woods and go grab that coveted prize off of the pedestal.
Yep, but we saw the spin speed streak finally end there from Krithel coming out of Hera. It's one of my least favourite spin speeds, although the dead rock seemed to not be there this time, so it actually was kind of safe, but yeah, it didn't quite hit it.
It's okay. We only have I don't know actually how many spin speeds are there in the game? Like 5 or something? I'm sure we've already gone through, at least 4, right?
Yeah,
it depends. Like that.
It depends how many you go for. Obviously, like the one I just mentioned there coming out of Hera, not everyone goes for. The one on the way to Library, not everyone goes for. The one into the back of Desert, not everyone goes for. Like there's a few. There's there's like 3 or 4 like mandatory spin speeds, as it were.
True. Okay, is it almost like a law or something that, Moldorm never goes well the first time, but Moldorm always seems to go swimmingly the second time? I don't know. I mean, Chex had a really nice fight, but man, couldn't we just kind of like reverse that order?
Yeah, for sure. Like I feel like whenever you die to a boss on a good pace or when you're ahead in a race or something, like the second time just goes perfectly, and you just think like, why couldn't I have had that the first time?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, speaking of, looks like after Chex did also not get that spin speed. Both, of course, looks like everyone, is taking a little bit care for the Deathbound Descent Cave. So stopping your dash just a little bit earlier. Bonking, so in general, right? Oh, yeah, and Chex also taking note of his resources, actually really good observation on his side. He was a little bit low on arrows. I think he came out of Desert with 7, so he definitely needed to kind of get the backup arrows. Yeah, but I was going to say, so like bonking in general isn't probably... Oh no! Oh no!
Chat, please.
Oh no! Okay, it's okay. Chex can still recover. He probably just needs. Okay, there are kind of multiple things that, while this is maybe not the most dangerous of segments, in that this is Lost. Oh my god, they're in Lost Woods. Things really only do. There are only like a handful of enemies, around like 2 or 3 birds, maybe a bush crab that you can just outrun. But it's that you really don't want to get hit at all, which I guess maybe does make it a bit more dangerous.
Yeah, in particular, getting hit between the 2 tree pulls here. So yeah, Chex is going to need to do an extra tree pull here to fix this.
Right. I mean, so like there are of course backup strats where I think you can. So there's certainly still the tree available in front of Hyrule Castle. But again, like these are all considered backups. They're not considered huge time losses, but you will have to spend a little bit of extra time in order to get the requisite, in this case, funding that he needs in Dark Worlds. Oh, Jesse is picking up a mushroom. I don't actually know if Kaesden does this as well. I also don't know if that's part of Jesse's kind of like normal route, but picking up the mushroom is actually quite a nice safety.
Yeah, for sure. Like one of the best. I can definitely see people doing it in a race, but yeah, I'm not sure if Jesse does it in PB attempts. It's definitely possible. I don't think I dropped the mushroom until I was at like a 127. So. Okay.
No, that's really very good to know. Yeah, speaking of though PBs, right? So Jesse, I think he did have a sub 130 time before last night, and then at like 3 a.m. he posted that he had a 128.23 PB. That was roughly a minute and a half, basically under whatever his last PB was. Oh my gosh, though. Okay, yeah, all right. So. It's okay. So okay. The good news is that Jesse has all his money. The bad news is that he's not gonna have sword beams for the upcoming rooms, which he can still, everyone can always manage. It's just that, well, you would at least, like to be able to go slightly faster for these upcoming rooms, and you have a bit more guarantee as for some of your safety drops later if you absorb beams. Yeah, unfortunately, so Moldorm knocking down Chex was already kind of, I think it just kind of started spiraling Chex's game into this really unfortunate kind of like RNG segment. So Chex coming out of Lost Woods, he also got hit by a bush bomb. So then he like had to, man, it was like he was down a lot of stuff at that point.
And we saw Jesse taking a hit at the beginning of the tower here, and then unfortunately going for the spin strat in price pack guards and getting both drops. So hasn't got a fairy coming in Turtle Rock.
All right. Okay. Well, you know what? So we all believe in Jesse. The safety is that the fairy is just a clutch. He doesn't maybe need it if he just never takes more damage. Certainly wish him the best.
It is true that you can, sometimes you have a nice clean Turtle Rock split and it doesn't matter, but it's obviously really nice to just have it as a as a safety, but also as a we obviously do take some deliberate damage in the split too, so it's nice to just have that health back, and having beams for a couple of rooms helps too if you can maintain them.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true.
But all that is like 45 minutes down the line from now, so we can worry about that later.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, maybe the Pokies also could just cycle through a bunch of the the prize packs. I think every Poke drops like 3 or something. So maybe we could also get some lucky, with those. Although speaking of,
that price pack definitely can be wrapped around if you get enough drops.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Just like some of this bad luck though that Chex is having is so unfortunately. So I think he also got a heart from the blue guards, in the same room that Jesse had. We saw both prize packs. So Chex is technically maybe still okay. He just needs the mini helmet in the upcoming dungeon to not drop a prize on the bridge for him.
All right, and we have 2 runners now into the Aghanim fight. I've seen at least 1 blue ball from them both. I've not noticed all of them.
Yeah, it's definitely very one of those things that I know. It's just one of the things that just kind of needs to like drift by. And of course, this being 4 completely different games, in that there's nothing, I guess, like there's no relation between each game in this case, right? So it looks like actually Krithel maybe had a low number of blue balls, maybe.
Yeah, I think that might have been 1. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and so that's absolutely no, and so we're gonna hope that Chex gets a very similar number, but there's no guarantee in this case what's actually gonna happen. We're gonna hope that Chex doesn't get too many more, just because you really don't want like so many kind of like bad things piling on one runner. I do remember last season, I think Chex set if it wasn't a record, it was certainly very close. It was like 11 blue balls in a run. it was pretty rough for Chex.
Yeah, I think I had like a 10 or an 11 in the tournament a couple of years back.
Oh yeah, and and I guess for people who may play like the randomizer more, race that more, right? If you end up getting, if it's a required Agassi and you get him 11 blue balls, you're like, you know what? Okay, at least my opponent, has to suffer the same thing, right? It's when that maybe you like do maybe a speculative Aga, right? Or you're racing NMG, right? This it is like, especially when you see how many blue balls your opponent gets, you're just like, well, I guess you get a lot of time to contemplate things.
It certainly looks like Aghanim is interested in widening the gaps today. I think it was I think it was 1 for Krithel. I think it was 2 for Kaesden. I think Chex and Jesse are both getting substantially more than that already.
Yeah, we also do see, speaking of, so Chex looks like he is hopping in. He is here in the restream chat, at least with us. Chex also sounds like he has a very similar sleeping pattern to me. In that maybe our when we got out of bed wasn't too far off. Oh. Alright, okay, Chex is finally done. It looks like actually no, I think maybe Chex actually ended up getting into Aga a little bit later than Jesse, but certainly, as you said, looks like Krithel and Kaesden basically have a very similar number of low blue balls, and then Chex and Jesse kind of had to take one for the proverbial team, I guess, and then had to suffer through the rest of these. Yeah, but kind of like just like that. So we already, of course, this is going to be a dialogue that, unfortunately, again, because of our good nature and heroism, I guess, or whatnot. No, we cannot. We're gonna just let Sahashala talk to his heart's content, tell us all about the wonderful things and where we need to go next. I mean, but Krithel and Kaesden are already well into their way into Palace of Darkness.
Yeah. So two pretty big leads here for sure. One of those situations where probably we need. Chex is getting beaten up on the pod overworld here as well.
Oh my gosh.
It's at the point where I think Krithel and Kaesden they would have to make a notable mistake to get caught here, but nothing like that can certainly happen. Like they don't have to the race is certainly not over. That's for sure.
100%. Yeah. And in fact, so we've gone through roughly 30 minutes of content, right? So so the game itself, like the run, is roughly 1/3 Light World and then 2/3 Dark World, and. Oh man, I mean, there's I guess an NMG adage or whatnot. The runs remain the Dark World. I mean, the amount of time that you can save or lose, for that matter, in the Dark World splits is actually quite astounding. I won't say that the Light World splits don't matter per se, but the impact of Dark World is certainly much more significant. Suddenly, even as kind of like Chex, unfortunately, demonstrated firsthand, suddenly the difficulty level of gameplay rises significantly from Light World to Dark World. Pretty much everything in the overworld does like 2 hearts of damage at this point. The fact that we do have Sankar for everyone is a very, is actually that 7th heart is actually very, very relevant because everything kind of does 2 hearts of damage or more, especially like for instance Helmasaur. You do get an extra hit. So in this case, and helps you don't die.
Yep. We saw Krithel showing off some of the tech he's picked up in major glitch runs by select buffering the hammer jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess for what it's worth, right? So kind of as you see in this case, Krithel ended up picking up like the 1 heart on the on the right side. And you definitely want full health here coming into the back of Helmasaur. And of course, we're going to use our sword beams. We're going to hit a couple switches. Not only the one we just saw Krithel hit, but also the one here in the basement, saving us a little bit of time. Again, full health going to Helmasaur is very. It's very comforting. Let's put it that way. Right, and I was thinking so the fact that Chex did take a little bit of overworld damage is not going to be that big of a deal, so long as we saw, the number of hearts that you can replenish is 3, and so long as you kind of keep it within that 3, like the time loss is not going to be that big of a deal. It's kind of like when you end up not being able to replenish to go back to full health. That's when unfortunately things have some much stronger consequences.
Ooh, Jesse's only got a few frames left here, I think, to get onto the right pixel for this bomb jump.
Oh no.
One more up. I think we're good. Okay.
Oh, alright. Just in the nick of time. Oh. Yeah, definitely pixel perfect. So you... And right, you kind of saw Jesse kind of like pause, in this case pause buffering, to try and kind of adjust himself, right? So every pause, I guess, or every menu is roughly about a second. But you really want to make sure in this case you kind of nail it. In this case, otherwise... falling or failing hammering out not only of course costs you resources for bombs, it also costs you health. And of course all that, time stuff, we want to go fast and not have to redo something.
Yeah, I also noticed that Jesse did get the full magic drop from the mini Helmasaur on Hammer Jump.
Oh,
wow. So it's obviously slightly bad news in that you'd like to get that drop in Turtle Rock as well, but it's also slightly good news in that he is more likely to now wrap the prize pack around and get another fairy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So hopefully this will be all planned. That's the goal. Alright, looks like though, Helmasaur has gone relatively smooth enough for at least Krithel and Kaesden. Krithel ended up having a pretty decent fight. I think only took, actually, did he even take damage? I didn't think I noticed, but Kaesden is certainly well and alive.
Yeah, Kaesden was one hit KO mode at the end there, but yeah, ultimately got through the fight alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, as you mentioned before, so this is a race. Whether or not you have considered your performance to be, I don't know, whatever, up to your personal standards. Especially if you're trying to make a PB run. if Kaesden and Krithel are watching, this is certainly maybe one of those times where you maybe can adjust your strategy a bit. You don't always have to go through necessarily like the fastest strats, especially if it's going to be a little bit riskier. Especially in this case, some of maybe like the later things where maybe you don't go for one dash versus the other in order to basically risk, let's say, like losing health. Chex, though, absolutely clawing his way back. Looks like a very strong Helmosaur. Jesse is just finishing up his hammers, and it was also a like, nice timed hammer hit as well, despawning the fireballs. In this case, you don't have to necessarily worry about them. Now, of course, they cause a little bit of lag, but you also have to walk around them and, you know, avoid them. I mean, it just takes up a lot of time. And then a very fast finish at the end. Yeah, so in this case, Kaesden is dashing through the overworld. Krithel has already made it all the way over to the Lost Grove, I guess. Mirroring over from the Dark World has gotten his next major mobility item, which of course is the flute. We are going to probably stop at least planning out the rest of the overworld travel. We're just going to be able to fly our way around the world after this. Speaking of, though, I think you mentioned this is one of those mandatory spin speeds, not optional, that you kind of need to do for the game. If you do not have the spin speed, there is a guard, the red one specifically, that will just he will just ruin your day. You can't dash around him. Any type of time you take around him, he'll just come up to you and basically just keep spearing at you, and then you're just not gonna have fun.
Yeah, looks like there was a 611 pod there for Chex with the overall damage. That's a really good time there. So making a little bit of a comeback. Obviously, Krithel still has a decent lead, but Chex is gaming.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, and in fact, this is probably one of those times where, I mean, like I said, very comfortable Dark World. You won't have a lot of pressure. Kind of, you know, I guess, like, you know, mentally, like, you know, I'm sure there's a fine balance to all this, right? But in this case, you know, sometimes you actually can put up some of your best performances, right? Because now the stakes suddenly don't seem as high, right? Yeah, but I think also, as you mentioned, you know, it looks like, you know, Krithel and Kaesden have a pretty significant lead. And, you know, things, unfortunately, at least, you know, on, you know, for Chex, kind of happened. Not only, of course, you know, also for Jesse, you know, number of blue balls certainly widened that gap, but Chex also did have, you know, some unfortunate, you know, mishaps or, you know, circumstances befall him. And so we certainly do not want to, you know, wish that upon any of these runners, but that would probably be something that could certainly lessen the gap between Krithel and Chex, or, you know, Kaesden and Jesse. Speaking of really good, well, maybe from Jesse's vantage point for good RNG, bad for Kaesden is that sometimes when you dash through those bushes, you can get spawn points, or not spawn points, but things that spawn that you do not want in your path. So sometimes, you know, we saw this for Chex under the bushes for the bush bomb and the bush guard. We saw this for Jesse for the skull because, you know, once you bump into it, you have to bonk out and you gotta re-dash, and sometimes it can cause lag if you get a fairy. You know, things happen. Anything that basically can, you know, slow Kaesden down a little bit, I think would be probably good for Jesse's eyes. Ooh, alright, so looks like though Kaesden unfortunately got a little too close to that Zizak too. Again, everything does 2 hearts of damage. Coming into Thieves Town, it's not probably the most difficult dungeon, you know, of the game, as in like your total health probably doesn't matter all that much. You just would like a little bit of buffer, you know, kind of going through the dungeon. Certainly would consider to be the dungeon itself to be the more dangerous parts because you have all these little obstacles, especially here with the Hellway. Kaesden is trying to dash. Sometimes you just don't get the enemy lineup, and a really nice backup there in order to be able to dash through. But if you can get kind of stuck there, suddenly, you know, like even if you have like 5, 6, 7 hearts, it can basically go down to, you know, like 1 or 2 very, very quickly, and then you're going to be on 1-hit KO mode. And once you're kind of like at that stage, it doesn't really take a lot to get there. Suddenly you may not be playing within your comfort zone, right? Just because it's like, oh my gosh, do I have to maybe get a little bit further so I don't get hit? And then suddenly now your movement becomes a bit more erratic and less predictable, and then that can actually just lead you basically to get hit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think Thieves Town is probably one of the easiest dungeons to not get hit at all in, but if you start getting hit, it absolutely adds up. Yeah, all the enemies in the early Dark World hit really hard. This is like supposed to be like the 4th Dark World dungeon in the developer intended route, and we're doing it 2nd, so we're kind of in over our heads here.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Man, actually, this dungeon is on the more difficult side now that I think about it. I don't know. It's like, so, okay, right, the developer intended... Actually, Pod, I think, is actually very difficult, right? Just as a dungeon, it's because it's the very first one you're supposed to be doing in the, in the game, right? And then you go to Swamp, which... like the enemies aren't as bad as things are a bit slower, but then you go to like Skull Woods and you go to Thieves Town. It's like, man, you just get beat up left and right.
Yeah, for sure. Although Master Sword Swamp Palace does also suck. Like one of the big reasons why we put that one off in the run is to have Tempered Sword, which just makes lots of it easier, but particularly the buff fight, obviously.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I mean, like, I think you in theory can do like NMG with just Master Sword, right? You can just end on Master Sword. You can just and I think for the rest of the splits minus Ganon, it's actually faster if you do it perfectly. But I guess maybe that's just like when you lose time is only on the Ganon fight.
Yeah, like obviously, it speeds up. Having Tempered speeds up other boss fights as well, and a few other things. But yeah, the time it takes to get Tempered is also quite substantial. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the low % legacy world record enters Ganon ahead of the NMG world record, but then like the Ganon fight is so much faster that you just end up saving a ton of time there.
Yeah, no, I mean, and plus, like, you get to use Tempered, right, for NMG, and of course, these are like humans running, right? These aren't like, task bots or other things like that. Humans really appreciate consistency, especially for speedruns. Even when you say something, oh, this is like it has a 99% chance of success or something, right? Like that 1%, man, especially if you run this game seriously, like, or frequently, you really feel the effect of like 1% is actually quite significant. It may not sound like a lot, but it is very significant. Yeah,
and like, I mean, just these things. Sorry, yeah, a lot of these things like the Temper Sword that speed us up. Just like going faster is also safer in a sense, right?
True,
like there's just fewer opportunities for things to go wrong. Like we could say the difference in time between the Ganon fight with Master Sword and Tempered Sword is I'm not sure the exact time, but let's say about a minute. But it's also like it's just easier to do the fight with the Tempered Sword. Like you're less likely to lose time as well.
Oh yeah. And in fact, I mean, I think this is just maybe like a true statement in general, but like but as you mentioned, the less time the boss or enemies get to do something like to you, right? Or the longer the fight goes, the worse kind of it is for you, right? For example, like Moth, actually, if you take too long, he actually gets like super speed and just rushes at you. Not a situation you want. If you can't kill Cold Stare, later, I guess like kind of in its early stage before it kind of disperses, you are in for a world of adventure. And you really don't want that in Dark World.
Speaking of our Tempered Sword, there is Krithel being our first runner to grab it here.
Nice. Yeah, looks like we're also gonna use the portal straight through. Alright, okay, now it's gonna be one of the hardest tricks that Krithel may or may not go for, which is Dark World Fence Dash. Look at that. Krithel, see, it's another great like confidence boost right there. The run's gonna go well for the rest of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely another thing I think that Krithel gains from playing a lot of major glitch categories is that like pressing 2 buttons on one frame is a thing that comes up an absolute ton in major glitch categories. Like the current route for any % RMG is like just so much of that stuff. Between like super bunnying with the mirror is 2 buttons on one frame. There's a mirror wrap which is 2 buttons on one frame. YBA is 2 buttons on one frame.
This sounds automatically very, very, very difficult now. All right, though. Okay, so it looks like the Krithel. Oh, Kaesden also getting the fence dash. Very, very nice. All right, so we got 2 for 2 fence dashes so far. Hopefully, Chex and Jesse can hold up their end of the bargain. It looks like, yeah, I was gonna say Krithel here is in the easiest room of the game according to Matt7898, and Krithel made it look exactly like it. these Gyptos, man. I don't know. Sometimes you wonder if if they're playing a different game than than the average person, because sometimes those Gyptos do not want to cooperate with you. All right, one thing that has gone right for Chex, a morale boost to kind of come back from his run. Chex also has nailed Finn's dash. Jesse is going to get there relatively soon. He just goes to need to go pick up his tempered sword.
Nice. Krithel did get a bush skull, as you mentioned earlier, in the Skullwood segment there. That's one of the more common places to get it, is that dash there coming from the back to the front of, or from the front to the back of Skullwoods.
Yeah, those are some of the things I guess you just kind of have to live with. I assume it's just random at that point. Like, there's nothing you can really do to like manipulate or anything like that.
I don't think so. I'm not really an expert on how like the bush prize packs work, but I don't know exactly, but it comes up.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. All right, looks like these Gyptos. I think they need a performance evaluation from their boss. I don't know if that's Monthiel or Ganon, but these guys don't seem to be doing their job. Basically just letting the hero, they're an intruder, no less. In their home, just basically getting the like the most coveted prize, basically of the dungeon.
Yeah, I think one of the mummies gave Kaesden a hit, getting to the big key, but other than that, they've been neglecting their duties there. Alright, reasonable enough moth fight there from Krithel.
Yeah, certainly really good. Yeah, as you said, this is one of those fights where Tempered Sword does wonders. In this case, for the fight, you want Moth, as alive, as short as possible. The number of spikes have moved, and in this case is what, 3 out of 3 for Krithel. Certainly a very good indicator. But with Tempered Sword, it only takes 4 slashes. If you get the spin at the beginning, it only takes 2 more. Get a poke or something, it's even less than that. But with the Master Sword, it's actually 8 hits, right? So basically, Tempered Sword cut it down twice as much, which is certainly very, very desired.
It looks like Kaesden's dropping into Moth with only 3 hearts here, so he needs to be a little careful.
Oh, good point. So he's technically not on. Okay, he is on 1 hit KO. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh,
please.
That was a really good reaction on Kaesden's side in order to avoid that spike that was coming at him.
Okay, I think we need one more fire on, one more slash, please. Okay.
Oh.
He keeps hitting the spikes.
Oh no, Kaesden! Oh my gosh, that was a really, holy cow, that was a really clenching fight.
So the race on that side just got really close because Jesse's about to enter the back here.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, so even though Jesse is 1 room behind Kaesden's gonna have to spend a little bit more time here, collecting magic, because we've already kind of used up 1 full bar in order to get to the back. So yeah, just like that, kind of Jesse is a little bit of ahead now. Speaking of though, Chex with his actually really, really nice moth fight, only 1 spike move, lightning fast. Certainly going to be something really good to kind of help him tighten up the gap between himself and Krithel. Ooh, Krithel though, this is one of those things where you could just, well, I guess it's the bad RNG goes all around. You can make the dash, it is a known risk that sometimes you can just get hit for no reason and get frame rolled. So Krithel unfortunately lost the lottery for that one.
Alright, Jesse is through Moth alive. Let's see how Kaesden's second attempt goes.
Yeah, definitely more health coming in, more magic coming in as well. So definitely a much better fight. I think, as you mentioned earlier, for Kaesden's first Moth fight, it was like super close. It literally looked like he only needed probably like 1 more hit or something, right? One more hit, one more fire rod. Yeah, but unfortunately, Mike, Moth doesn't take damage from the spikes, and so you gotta have to make sure the hits are clean. All right, so yeah, as basically Jesse and Kaesden, basically 2-3 text boxes between them, something like that. Yeah, so as you said, basically that moth death really tightened things up a bit, in this case for the Eastern Palace Division race. Meanwhile, though, Chex, in this case, is on his way to go get his Quake Medallion from Catfish. Krithel is just picked up his very expensive flippers. I'm not actually sure, what's more worth it. Maybe, because it's the technically Temper Sword is optional. Maybe that's why it's so cheap versus the flippers. They're actually hard required, like, for the game. I don't know, maybe that's why they're so expensive, and that's why, Zora knows he can charge a premium. Versus, like, the Smiths are like, you know what, I don't know how we're gonna be able to entice people in order to get the sword. It actually does, it's like twice as good as, like, the thing you have, but, you don't have to come to us, so maybe that's why it's on lower price tag.
Yeah, I mean, we also save one of the Smith's lives, so I think we can assume we're getting a discount there.
That's actually a really good point. Man, you would think that we get a better discount, too, right? Or just a free sword. Yeah. All right. So, unfortunately, I missed where Krithel ended up taking it. Was it actually inside Ice Palace? Because I thought he at least got through Waterfall Portal, with no damage.
Well, Krithel got lotteried, right? But I got a heart back somewhere.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Krithel can have beams for conveyor room at least by grabbing the heart in the skeleton room downstairs here.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Momo, for watching as well. Yeah, right. So, of course, just with, I think, not necessarily most Dark World dungeons, but certainly the later Dark World dungeons, you really want to come into the dungeon with full health. The overworld, like most any type, wow, nice reflexes there, Chex. Like most things, things can kind of like nickel and dime you. The crabs are kind of an exception in that they can't actually do 2 hearts of damage. While even at this low health loadout, is not necessarily like a nickel and dime, but actually could be quite significant. But the point is you still don't want to get hit. You do get a little bit of recovery, but looks like at least as Chex has been entering Ice Palace on full health, as you kind of see like the benefits in this case of sword beams. Ooh. All right, so Krithel actually took a nice kind of like a little bit of a time save in order to try and actually clip into that stairs. Those of you who may have actually ever experienced the ice physics, especially trying to move fast, it is not your friend. Probably second to the difficulty of swimming. It is sometimes can be quite difficult to maneuver. So anytime you can kind of just slide into those stairs is kind of nice. Unfortunately, sometimes depending on where you end up making that slide, you can end up taking like kind of like a 1 heart damage from like I guess like an invisible spike or something on the left side. But luckily, I don't actually think that 1 heart matters as much, just because Cold Stare itself does like 4 hearts of damage, and so as long as you have whatever 4x plus 1, then then you're good. Okay, see? Okay. I'm not sure did he get hit from the icicle? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Which probably actually might have helped because like the invincibility frames from that hit might have prevented a hit from the puff.
Yeah, actually, because suddenly it looked like Krithel was just smack dab in the middle of all 3 of them, and yet he was still living. So it was very good.
Yeah, and Krithel dropped into the fight there with 7 hearts, which is pretty safe. That means you can get hit by the puffs once and the icicles once and still be alive.
We almost have like a sync here, right here between Kaesden and Jesse. Looks like actually that means that Kaesden probably has actually made up a little bit of extra time, because I think he was a little bit behind on getting into Ice Palace as well. Yeah,
they're almost neck and neck now.
Yeah, it looks like Jesse ends up picking up a little bit of extra resources as well from the Stalfos room. Did he make it? No. Okay. So Kaesden's gonna try again. Luckily, he has the health for this. Jesse, though, good thing he got it first try. He did end up picking up an extra bomb, but his health situation is just a little bit dicier. Ideally, we would like to have 1 more heart, right, going in. Oh man, the Chex making Colster look easy.
Anyway, yeah, so Krithel's now done with Ice Palace. Looks like Krithel's shopping route here involves Ether in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, it looks like Krithel, talking about all of the, swords, the spin speed with the sword, and how you feel about it. Looks like Krithel is willing to at least do one more, quote-unquote, mandatory spin speed. I mean, you maybe don't have to have it, but it's certainly very, very helpful coming up here in Death Mountain, and then claiming his Ether before he ends up going to Swamp. I want to say that Chex goes to Swamp, but I guess we're going next before getting Ether in Ice Rod. But I guess we'll just see.
Yeah, I think you're right. Looking at Chex's splits there, seeing the gold for Swamp, I'm pretty sure this is an Etherless Swamp.
Okay, sounds good.
Which probably makes Chex one of my fellow boomer shoppers.
I can certainly never fault anybody for wanting to limit the number of spin speeds that they do. Oh, looks like though. All right, so Jesse into Cold Stare, unfortunately got a little bit of a disbursement. Not really something that you want to see, but he is certainly not passing each of the man. Contrasting that with Kaesden, like side by side, very similar to what Chex had as well. This is a textbook. You kill Cold Stare before it kills you type of situation. And it looks like actually, just if you're just tuning in, Chex and Krithel look actually pretty close. They're probably just like one light world, dark world screen transition away. Just as a PSA, Chex still does not have his Ether medallion, so it's a little bit farther. But due to the different routes, we are going to be able to see a bit like a closer, more of a side by side run through Swamp.
Alright, on the other race on the right-hand side here, we're going to see if and when these runners are going to be doing some shopping right now. Looks like Jesse is going up the mountain. As is Kaesden.
Yeah, I mean, this I think is also very fair as well. Looks like Chex at least, with the going to Swamp Palace first is the odd person out, but certainly very, very, very understandable in order to basically pick up, their Ether medallion first. So like the consequence, as mentioned before, most of the later Dark World dungeons, you would really like to enter as full health. Not necessarily untrue for Swamp, but it's certainly less impactful, right? And as we've kind of seen, the Death Mountain treatment is quite, on the rougher side, with the boulders and the dead rocks, even with spin speed, for example, going up to Hera, right, you can certainly get, beaten up quite a bit. And so if you don't go into Swamp with full health, not the end of the world, right? Especially Swamp being the second dungeon, intended dungeon of completion is not that difficult. So, and plus now we're here, what dungeon is this? Fourth one or something? Fifth one? Like we're here basically with like an overloaded amount of health, right? So you lose, a couple hearts here and there, probably not going to be the end of the world for you.
It looks like Kaesden's grabbing the Ice Rod in Swamp Split as well here. So, contending with the nightmare menu between flute and bombs.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that. Like, so are you? Is the intention that when you do your shopping, like, do you always, I guess, like do like Ether and Ice Rod together, or would you actually ever like split them up? Just in basically in terms of menuing.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter a ton. Like the most common two are what we've seen from Jesse and Krithel here, which is Swamp. Swamp Ether, and then presumably Ice Rod in Turtle Rock later. And then followed by doing both in Maya is like the second most common, which is what I do and what I think Chex is going to be doing. But yeah, in general, like the main reason not to do Ice Rod in Swamp is because having the hook shot when you do that menu is just a lot nicer. Like you have to do like 2 extra moves or something to do it like this.
That's actually very no, this is. Man, NMG has been pretty heavily optimized. But I mean, I'm really glad that people actually take the time to kind of all like figure all this stuff out.
And yeah, to answer Malmo's question in chat, though, the benefits of Maya Ice Rod mostly is just the ability to farm health from the crabs if you took damage getting ether, which is kind of why usually you do Ice Rod in TR if you've done ether in Swamp, but you usually do it with ether in Maya.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, I don't know if it's really considered that much of a meme, but you know, as in like, oh, just don't get hit. It is. Sometimes you are just boxed in with no other option but to take damage. The crabs don't have to be your friend.
That is true, of course, but like actually, like having the hook shot on the mountain does actually help you not get hit. Like you just it's just faster to set up hook speed than it is to set up spin speed, so you can get past the boulders faster.
Oh yeah, I guess that yeah, the couple of X, like I don't know what, like the second or so, I guess it does kind of like change the timing, right? Because you get that kind of like time buffer basically to start climbing before the boulders start falling. That's also true.
Alright, Krithel not getting the 0 cycle here. Hopefully
Yeah,
gonna get
but
the
looks
fire
like-
rod quick kill.
Yeah, really nice positioning on Krithel's side in order to be able to get it. Chex though is going for his own 0 cycle. Is he gonna be able to make this?
Can he get the backup?
Man,
Ooh, not quite.
Yeah, Argus rushed him pretty quickly, and I didn't even know he was gonna have enough room or time in order to get the last couple puffs. Alright, looks like though Chex, I guess I'm not actually sure if he goes to the fire rod. He certainly didn't menu to it, but you know, there is the classic and tried and true method of 2 sword spins. Works. You know, like even I believe 123 Run of Wayne still sticks with the 2 spin version, so certainly can't fault anyone for doing that. Chex is confirming that we do not use Fire Rod, which is all good. Jesse though, so he's gonna be coming out of left side swamp at least a little bit before Kaesden, but you know, Jesse's kind of demonstrating from his run that Swamp, while is not a particularly dangerous dungeon, as you said, you know, like if we go into ether, you know, go get ether first and take a couple hits off the mountain, not gonna be in the world. It's just where you get hit by all of these random things, like that water whatever thing, like
Yeah,
just
like
that other water thing.
Sometimes a fish comes out of the wall and gets you.
Yeah, you know, like they don't do a lot of damage, especially, you know, when we have so much health. You know, the Baris, it's just everything just slows you down, right? And that's you're probably more annoyed at the time loss versus like the actual, you know, oh no, I'm going to die, like I am in, you know, like Ice Palace or, you know, Mire coming up here.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like Kaesden's having a bit of a cleaner swamp here, only down half a heart. I think that race is probably pretty close because obviously Kaesden is up by an ice rod here.
Yeah, and it's kind of, oh man, I actually don't know how long it takes in those to get an ice rod, but yeah, as you said, like they're a couple screens apart, which is, you know, probably roughly the amount of time that it takes in order to go get an ice rod.
Alright, and on the other side here, Krithel now into Maya. Check's going to be doing all the shopping.
Yeah, and of course, right, Krithel, you know, having already picked up Ether, which is of course the requisite medallion for Mire, he doesn't have to worry about his health. He can just go from Swamp directly over here to the next dungeon after the full refill from Argus, and kind of demonstrated one of the, you know, dungeons for Mire. Health is actually one of the strongest resources you have. Of course, not only for the sword beams at the beginning of the dungeon for Mire 2, in order to be able to kill the popos and the whiz robes and all that stuff very quickly. We are actually going to use health kind of like to our advantage, and I guess you know, in the name of speed, we're gonna take 3 hearts of damage on some upcoming spikes in order to go get a small key for later access to the dungeon, and then also we would like to kind of have enough health to kind of damage boost ourselves and the boss. Ideally, you'd like to have 7. 5 is, you know, minimum required, but you know, again, minimum is not really what you want to see, you know, in a race situation. Never really hurts to have a little bit of extra buffer.
Oh yeah, going into Vitreous with the minimum health is always a scary proposition.
Even if you only take, you know, whatever, 4 hearts of damage right from the fight, and you're going in with 5, it is a world of difference, like mentally. You know, if you go into like with it from like 7 or 8 hearts of damage, and you end up taking 4, right? Because, yeah, especially if you hesitate a little bit, something doesn't go quite right. Suddenly you're gonna be in a kind of like almost like a cold stare type situation where all the eyes are coming at you. There's a lot more lightning. Yeah, things just kind of go off the rails very, very quickly.
Well, we actually saw a successful zero cycle from Kaesden there. Really nice, nice first half of the fight there.
Yeah, alright. Looks like Jesse is taking advantage of those iframes. You may not always see, the link sprite being whatever invisible in order to see that they do exist after the mirror portal. Alright, so Krithel's actually coming up. This is the 3 hearts of damage we're talking about over the spikes. We're going to basically use that, go to the back, and then he does have the hook shot out. I don't know if he hooks the pot, he dashes the pot, he's going to hook. That's also good. Yeah, so we're definitely going to be quite healthy, at least going into Vitreous. And like, especially for the endgame dungeons, so this is Meyer, this is dungeon number 6 out of, I guess, like the 7 Dark World dungeons. And as a point of note, we, because this is the 6th one, the 5th one's Ice Palace, where we had, in this case, the prize was the blue mail. The game kind of assumes you have blue mail now, where of course each armor kind of halves the damage of the game, right? So now everything after Ice Palace is like, oh, okay, well, we need something to account for the fact that they are basically double buffed. So let's just make everything do 4 hearts of damage instead of 2. So this is with nothing, just like the rest of the dungeon, Vitreous's eyes do 4 hearts of damage, and so we would like to not take that damage, and instead we're going to try and take the 1 heart's worth of damage from this from the slime that Vitreous is on, and then use those iframes, just exactly what Krithel is started to do.
And that's why you don't want the minimum health.
Yep.
Okay, get out of that.
Oh my gosh. Alright, that looks like it looked like he was like damage boosted up or something.
Yeah, that was pretty unlucky, I think. The damage boost up there, meaning that he couldn't get out of the danger during the iframe period.
Oh yeah, that was really unfortunate for but I'm sad to report that Vitreous and in Cold Stare are probably 2 of Ganon's best employees. They have ended so many runs, so many races, but nevertheless, Krithel is going to persevere. But I also think that this race makes things a little bit closer now.
Yeah, I think probably Chex is ahead here. Yeah, because Chex has the ice rod as well, actually, so he just definitely is ahead.
Yeah. So certainly the good news is for Krithel is that to get to the back of Meyer it's shorter than you actually might think. Sometimes especially if you end up dying, let's say to Mothula. I don't want to pick on Kaesden, but if you end up dying to Mothula, getting to the back of Mothula actually can be a bit more time consuming. Just because you have to go farm the magic again, you have to go through the room again. It's just kind of like the maybe it's that like hidden time, right? Or going back to Cold Stare is really quite the trek. But surprisingly for Meyer, if you have to go back to the boss, it doesn't actually take as much time as you might think.
Yeah, it looks like Krithel's gonna show off the what we call all dungeons spooky here.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Through the Samaria block into the pit, and is gonna do the alternative setup here for this room. Oh, missed the item dash though. Can get the back up here. Yeah.
Nice. Alright, Chex is into his Vitreous fight. Looks like he was able to successfully get the iframes. Oh, nice cleanup there on Chex's side as well. Yeah, and only 8 more arrows for phase 2. So yeah, there's a really nice job done on Chex's side. Meanwhile, Krithel is here for round 2. We do have 7 hearts. Looks like actually a very nice start for Krithel here. Also really nice cleanup.
Krithel's way of doing that fight scares me. Like, I think his first sword slash at the beginning of the fight is slightly lower than a lot of people's, so I like the whole like movement is different to what I'm used to looking at, so I'm just terrified by what's going on there.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask, so I don't actually really remember seeing the middle eye, one of the middle eyes, kind of being left in terms of cleanup. So I didn't actually know if that was just intentional or if Krithel, I guess, was just accidentally didn't step in the right position. No, I think maybe did something happen to Jesse? Maybe not enough magic for Spooky. It certainly did see a little bit of extra content going actually to open up the wall in order to hit the switch.
Yeah, I didn't notice. It's possible that he just like missed Spooky once, and
Oh yeah, that's really very
and
possible.
like once you miss it, then you are out of magic in general.
True.
So we have like just enough.
Yeah. All right. So, and I think also on Kaesden's side, unfortunately, he tried to open the small key chest in the spike room. Didn't quite manage it the first time, so had to do a little bit of a backup in order to go get it. Luckily, though, his health situation still looks okay, so we still should be good for that.
Yeah, should be fine here. Obviously, we thought the same about Krithel too, but
no, true. Yeah.
But yeah, Jesse gets through the fight alive. Let's hope that Kaesden can keep it close by doing the same.
Yeah. No, it's just like in this case, if you get nicked by one of the eyes, again, 4 hearts of damage, then suddenly it's not only, and, as you mentioned or observed, for Death Mountain, right? One of the benefits of having hook speed, in order to go get ether, is that you get to kind of start things a little bit earlier. Like that's kind of like your time advantage, right? Here, if you end up getting nicked, the eyes also, like now you're kind of behind where the eyes kind of start to come out and spawn, right? So now you're kind of like at a giant scramble, and it's much more difficult to deal with as well. Alright, though. So, with Krithel picking up his Ice Rod, he is now on his way to Turtle Rock versus Chex. He has already opened up, in this case, opened up the dungeon, and then now I'm trying to remember what happened on the bridge for Pod. I certainly know that he had a heart drop in the Blue Guards, like an Agate Tower. Did you happen to remember, Rob, if he had anything drop on the bridge for him in Pod?
I didn't notice, actually.
Okay, all right. I mean, you know what? Like, so if Chex had a fairy drop, I'm sure Chex can manage. If not, though, the mini Helma was definitely his friend today, and hopefully he's gonna be able to have one here.
I think he probably didn't get the fairy drop just because, like, usually if you don't remember, he didn't get it. Because if you got it, you'd remember.
That's true. Right. It's actually a very true adage there. You just kind of assume that things went well, but then you definitely notice when something did not go well. Alright, so coming up in Pokies is going to be kind of the first time. So that was a full magic, so...
Alright, so maybe he did then.
Yeah, alright, well that's also fine.
Okay, this chomp is... Alright, we're okay. That chomp was kind of in his face there.
That was really close. Thank you, iframes. Yeah, again, you're expected to come here on Blue Mail. Most things in this dungeon, I think, do probably 4 hearts. I think the lasers, surprisingly, only do 3. I'm not really sure why that was a decision, but they're considered, I guess, easy on the Turtle Rock scale.
Yeah, I guess so. I think the rolling pins do 3. I'm not
entirely
sure.
I think
but
so too.
Everything is like at least 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these slow-moving Stalfos, though, for some reason they do 4. Who knows? Oh no!
Okay, gotta backtrack here for the key.
Fine. Everything's fine. But of course, this is kind of one of the benefits, right? So if you're especially doing this on a people, okay, if you want to do it on PB attempt, you may not have continued this run after many things have happened for both runners. But if you were, right, and kind of getting Bunny Bean, you are probably not really happy, here. But you can see your opponent. This is a race, right? May not probably tilt you as much.
I mean, I think in a PB attempt, Chex's run doesn't get out of Hera, so
that's actually probably true.
We're a long way in.
Yeah, that's also really true. Yeah, it's definitely probably heartbreaking for Krithel, because I think Krithel had a really good run, right, up till at least looking at his personal splits. Like I think he was ahead after Swamp, and then Mire happened, right, and then you're just sad.
Yeah, and his Mire wasn't bad either until the Vitreous fight. Like he thinks.
Yeah, I know exactly. Right, exactly. Alright, Chex. Able to beat the roller, which is always really nice to see. It can be, I think, kind of tight, depending on maybe like how you end up timing things, but always really good to see, especially with Chex not having the fairy as a heal, taking kind of like 3 hearts of damage before not the end of the world, but we would like some extra buffer.
Right, Jesse gets the red rupee drop from that first pokey in the quest to wrap the prize pack all the way around.
Yeah. Although, man, Jesse though, he is really having his terrible time here with chomps.
Chomps, please.
Yeah, those chomps were just hovering over that chest.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
they got kind of desynced there as well. They like weren't aggroing at the same time, so you couldn't really be safe from either of them at any point.
Yeah. Oh my. It's just one of those things where, I mean, at least like Jesse, you know, hasn't gotten hit. You kind of look at the health difference here between Jesse and Kaesden, right? Kaesden here is on 4.5 hearts, not quite, you know, in Oko, but luckily we did get the fairy from the second pokey, which is always good. All right, Check's gonna do some backdoor strats. Hopefully, again, this is one of those times where, especially if you let the ice head get out of control and start basically, well, I guess making the floor ice, not only gonna have a lot of lag, but also like your movement is just so hampered by that, right? Again, you want this boss dead as fast as possible, which Chex certainly has done.
Yep, pretty nice fight there. See if Krithel can do the same.
Yeah, and coming in here into Trinex, you probably just care about the health, mostly. I mean, you know, obviously, like we kind of saw on Chex's side, things look all fine if you don't get hit. But of course, yeah, there's always kind of like the full magic drop right before, underneath the pot, right before you go to Trinex. So. The game, I would say, oh no, oh, see, this ice rod. I don't know why, like, this ice rod is just so finicky, because that definitely looked like it hit and landed, but, like, it didn't register. I don't know, though, so,
okay,
Krithels,
please,
yeah.
Okay,
okay,
alright. We are fine.
Oh,
not gonna run out of magic.
Yeah, that is by far like the biggest danger, I would say, for this particular fight. You know, you do get a full magic drop right before you enter the fight, but you know, as Krithel has unfortunately personally demonstrated, once you had to hit the ice floor, it is very difficult in order to kind of land like the rest of your shots.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying about wanting to get the boss dead as soon as possible. Like, for so many of the bosses in this game, that's true. Like, it just gets worse and worse the longer it goes on.
Yeah. All right, so Jesse, I'm not really sure necessarily what happened. Maybe he couldn't get into position or something on the last one, but you know, shout outs to boostless laser skips. I think you know, Jesse. I don't think he started with NMG. He certainly probably came from like the rando side of things, and certainly has had quite a bit of success, you know, in the rando community. So I think that's one of the things that if you end up playing a lot of the randomizer or entrance, you learn boostless laser skips quite well. So you can always kind of have have a backup.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting to see people from who come to NMG from different backgrounds racing against each other to see the different strats they've incorporated.
Yeah.
Like I've mentioned a few times that Krithel's does a lot of major glitched runs, so that's kind of where he's approaching the game from, and obviously Chex does a lot of that as well, and then yeah, Jesse's come from rando. Yeah,
actually, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, that's right. Like, there's a good reminder there, Krithel. I'm sure. Yeah, I do. I certainly remember him doing a lot of like the more glitch stuff. Yeah, and Chex is obviously a very talented glitch runner as well. For what it's worth, like Jesse and Kaesden are still currently League teammates. I mean, League isn't going on right now, but I think they've been together for quite some time. So always kind of cool to see teammates kind of racing against each other. So we are coming towards the end of this particular run. We only need one more thing that we have to kind of go pick up for the remainder of the game, and Chex is one room away from it. Going to take on some ice armos, and then Krithel is getting there. We still need the GT big key before we can climb up the rest of the tower. Actually, and I guess just in terms of like game design, it's actually kind of cool to see like the basement. While it's pretty gigantic, as a casual player, you probably end up exploring the vast majority of it. But it's kind of like a lot more, I guess, like puzzly, right? You have to try and figure out where all the small keys are. from room to room gives a lot of variety. And then kind of like once you find the big key and go upstairs, it is execution heavy, right? It's like the room. There's not really like a what route should I take. There is a go from room to room and kill all the enemies as fast as possible, which I think is actually really like a nice kind of like ending, both in terms of like gameplay and also just like mentally like progress.
Yeah, for sure. I think like Gannon's Tower is a really good example of like how dungeon design was sort of done differently back in the day. Like as you mentioned, with the more like puzzly aspect of it, but also like there's just like there's like the completely useless small key door between left and right side, right? Which you just don't see things like that these days. Yeah,
that's true. And I think actually, like even looking back, playing this when I was significantly younger, right? Like as a younger as a younger person, like. I didn't actually know that there was a small key. I didn't know, for one, I didn't know there was a prize in Tile Room, like let alone there was a small key in there. So when you first, of course, see this small key on the torch and you open the door, and then you don't, I guess, thoroughly check the rest of the dungeon. Like I actually thought that you could like soft lock yourself, right? I mean, I didn't know that at the time, right? But it's like, oh man, that was definitely kind of a rude awakening.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that happening really easily.
Yeah, because especially you definitely have to sit through Hera Basement, but that experience is not something that you kind of want to repeat, right? And Hera Basement also doesn't give you a prize, right?
Yeah, right. Like you can just see on the dungeon map that there's a room beyond Hera Basement you need to go to, whereas
right, exactly.
Like it's just not at all obvious that you need to do the tile room in GT.
So the next time I think the next couple playthroughs, I just made sure like never open this door, and then you were fine. Oh no, Krithel unfortunately kind of missed the mimics on at least Mimics 2. Just a very minor, it's a very minor setback. Meanwhile though, we are, so actually I'm kind of seeing this more and more from people. I don't know if it's like the more, I guess, like intended strats where you are actually going to pick up like the chest arrows, like what kind of what Kaesden did, and versus I guess in theory, like so Kaesden's going to be able to take out Iris Armos with hopefully 18 arrows, and then we don't have to open the chest after the big key. So. I assume this is going to be faster in order to get the chest versus opening
like that chest is definitely faster. He might grab these anyway. Like climbing with 10 is a little bit sketchy. Like it's on the low side of what you would like.
Okay, that's really true. Well, so Jesse's definitely going to take this chest.
Yeah. And we'll be climbing with 10 anyway.
Yeah. I guess so I don't know if this is also just observation bias. If I this seems like the mimics usually will drop you at least like one 5 arrow pack, but yeah, you like again in a run or in a race you really don't want to take that risk.
Yeah, like you don't want to be relying on it, but like usually it will happen, and it means that like if you are just climbing with like the 9 or 10 that you absolutely need, you will usually find a few extras to do some of the fancier strats in Gauntlet.
Landmos 1 didn't treat Krithel very well. Landmos 2, I don't think it was any nicer, unfortunately, on Krithel's side. Yeah, but I think in this case, so while the Fire Rod is by far certainly the most effective weapon, against Landmos, magic usage and resourcing is actually pretty important here in GT. So I think in this case, you can only have a limited number of fire. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! That bridge, arguably one of the worst rooms in GT. It's like, again, this is maybe one of those, maybe 99% probably is like too high, but it's like 99% of the time you just dash to that room, nothing ever goes wrong. You hit that 1%, and then suddenly now you get hit, you get knocked off the bridge, you take more damage from the guards, and then you're just sad. Yeah,
it's like Chex got the 2-cycle Aga 2.
Yeah, Chex's Dark World has been really strong.
Yeah, the comfiest of Dark Worlds.
Yeah. Actually, according to Chex's splits, looks like
gold
actually Aga 2 is a gold. Yeah. That is, especially for, I think Chex has a low 125 PB. So certainly, he's been running this for quite a bit of time. So
yeah, I think Chex got his PB during the last season of League, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's actually probably true. Actually, now that you mention it. Krithel looks like he was able to make up some amount of time because, you know, who needs to actually go kill Moldorm? We've already had enough bosses trying to get in our way. We're just gonna take a shortcut over that gap.
Yeah, makes sense. Krithle's a very consistent hoverer. Not surprised to see him go for that.
I actually maybe think that a lot of the glitched runners, I guess, like the hovering seems to have a much bigger impact, I guess. Or at least they basically being able to use like the boots and like the hookshot.
Yeah, for sure. I was mentioning the recent any % RMG routing changes recently, and yeah, like the hover is actually just like hard required for that route now.
Oh, really? Oh, that's all right. Time to brush up that A button then. Oh my gosh, Krithel is like, I think he's like, it's like the timing of the real agate was just like slightly like off, right? He was like, it was like the energy balls was just not close enough in order to register before like the real agate can disappear from his side clones. Well, meanwhile, though, Chex is looks like he. I'm gonna assume that Chex got the 1-on-1 because I definitely was not watching, but he's already here.
I believe so.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Here is just a couple more spins in this case to win. Yeah. So he did get torch glitch, which means he has enough time to get triples. It's just a couple more cycles, and there you go. So, after a whirlwind, light world, and early dark world for Chex, he is going to be the first and taking the victory over Krithel in his race. So GG's Chex.
Ooh, Krithel gets the downward facing Gan here. I'm not sure if he like goes for. I know some runners do try to get that deliberately. I'm not sure if that's the strat Krithel's going for, or if it's just a mistake.
Yeah. Ooh, I was gonna say Krithel looked super close, and like being on 4 hearts, it's not really that that comforting. All right, but Krithel's gonna go in here and take a phase 2. Although meanwhile, though, looks like actually Jesse and Kaesden, again, super close race. Looks like there's a 1 aga 2 difference. And of course, you know, again, this not being seeded, one of the other, you know, things we kind of still have to look out for is number of warps. Wow, Jesse has a really strong start in this case for aga 1. We can wrap this up with a 3 cycle. Oh, maybe. Nice job, yeah.
It looks like Kaesden got a gold Gannon's Tower as well.
Oh wow! I mean, these people are gaming.
Yeah, clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and as we mentioned, as we mentioned before the stream, the time at the bottom of Kaesden's splits does not match what we believe his PB to be. So I'm not entirely sure if those splits are like completely accurate. So it might not have been a gold in theory if it's a different set of splits or something. But still, yeah, a really good GT time.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so Jesse's starting his phase 2. Krithel also got torch glitch, so he just needs to kind of wrap up the motions, and he can also finish up this race.
Jesse gets the downward facing Ganon as well.
Oh my gosh! Oh, and he got hit! Oh my gosh, no!
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and say that neither of them did it on purpose, given that they both died to it.
Oh, that is really unfortunate.
Alright, looks like Krithel is also now done fighting the pig. Gonna claim a 2nd place here, but unfortunately that is a defeat in his 1v1 race against Chex. Okay, running the tip off from chat here that Kaesden runs against average time, which makes sense.
Ah, okay, that does make sense. Yeah, Kaesden has a like 128.31, I think, something like that. So.
I mean, if he's got a 128.30 and his average is a 129.20 something, then that's pretty consistent gaming.
Yeah, actually, that's actually really good. Yeah, and like one of the things that I guess as you practice and get faster, like consistency is definitely really key.
All right, and there, Kaesden is done, claims the win over Jesse.
Yeah, GG's Kaesden. League teammates, you know, to the end, right? You know, one person takes a death, the other person can take a death too. No, but this was a really actually great set of races in order to be able to watch. We actually saw a lot of different techniques. While maybe it wasn't like the best for the runners themselves, we also saw a lot of backup techniques as well. When things don't go quite right the way that you want them to. But it is something that again, even as a runner, one of the very important things that I guess you can do, especially in a race, is that you need to know how to recover, and basically, kind of keep your wits about you, both physically and mentally. And so to be able to kind of react and just kind of keep going after some disaster befalls upon you, is really very, very powerful as well.
It looks like we are joined by our winner here today, Chex. Congratulations.
Yeah, GG's Chex.
Right, GG.
So, did you think that you were going to win this race after Light World?
No, not really. So I was on a mental roller coaster because I figured I just blew it in Hera and Aga Tower, so 2 minutes behind, I had no chance, realistically. So I was disappointed in myself if I went 2 losses, 1 win. But then I started to, feel better after pod and figured I can still play segment to segment. And the reasons that I was failing in Hera and Aga were, had a little bit to do with what I'm trying to learn about these segments. So if I just keep up practice, I'll be able to fix these issues. So trying different things out in Beetles and in Rupee routing, and just haven't nailed it down yet.
Oh, okay. No, that's really good. That's really good information to know. We are also, looks like, joined by Krithel, Kaesden, and Jesse. GG's, guys.
GG, everyone.
GG's.
That was quite a bit of roller coaster. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Hey, look, we had a 4-player race and all 4 finished.
That is accurate.
That's good news.
I don't know if I guess you were watching any part of each other's streams or the restream and all. I will say, during Hera, Chex and Jesse, you gave us content that I don't think I've seen in any NMG run so far. Was that you guys had the star switch flipped on the other side as well?
I hit I hit the switch way too many times, and I didn't know what I was on anymore. So I just walked into the next room, and then I saw that it was the wrong way, and I was like, "Sure, I don't care now.
Just run with it."
Don't you know you need blue to hit?
I thought I did. I guess I didn't.
So I saw the blue, and I saw that it was red, but then I was sure that I hit the switch 3 times, and I knew I needed to hit the switch an odd number of times, but that was wrong. It had to be 4. So that's why I blew it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess for what it's worth, so when you were going through Hera, I guess the first time, right? And you and Krithel were pretty neck and neck, so we actually got to see a kind of a nice a demonstration, I guess, why you don't want to hit the star switch in that direction. Because I think at that point, that was when kind of Krithel overtook you. I mean, it's very, very bare, very slight, but I think that was the transition.
Yeah,
so.
I also really wanted to hit the heart switch, have it orange, but couldn't figure out how to navigate the crystal, the star pits to be safe at that point. I think I could have navigated to the right, but just didn't do it.
Just hover the pit, you'd have been fine.
True.
Yeah, but it was certainly a very, I guess, close race, at least between you, Jesse, and you, Kaesden. All basically throughout the run, it was. I guess right. So Kaesden, I think you had one blue ball versus maybe Jesse's 5. So there was certainly kind of a gap there. But then I guess Moldorm was Jesse's friend today, and then ended up kind of evening things out a bit.
I was gonna say Moth, I guess, did the favor to make the race closer. To bring it back.
Yeah, Moth told me to slow down a little bit.
I mean, you and Moth have not had a good relationship recently, or you and Woods, I guess.
We really do. I don't usually I'll get low health in a lot of practice runs, and the thing is, I don't worry about Moth too much because more often than not, it's fine. But when you're on low health, it's one of those things where it becomes a binary fight, where it's either like a 4-second fight or you die. There's not much wiggle room for anything else to happen. It either goes really right or really wrong. And this time I missed the double poke, so it just went really wrong.
Yeah. This game can certainly be not very forgiving at all, because I think sometimes like you just kind of get warped into, or like what is it, like damage boosted like the wrong way, and then suddenly you can't get out of the damage, right? Even though you were not on one hit KO to begin with, after taking one hit, but suddenly you can't avoid the second hit. So
it was a little frustrating on my fight because I did get the last swing off. It's just the animation of the sword swing was slower than Moth's movement. So I don't know if you caught that the sword was out. Like there was a frame of sword, but it still just didn't count. So that was a little upsetting.
Oh, yeah. But I think, well, I personally was maybe more focused among all the other spikes that were coming at you.
Yeah,
so
yeah, there was a lot going on.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you had any other comments, I guess, Krithel? You are on mute if you wanted to chat in. You had a really good run going into, even, everything up till Vitreous was, really good, at least from your splits.
Yeah, everything was just kind of equally rocky. Just a lot of disasters all over the place, but nothing bad enough to completely throw it until Vitty. No, I have no idea what happened to Vitty, other than it didn't come out well.
Yeah, well, at the end it looked like you got sort of damage boosted quite high in the room, so you couldn't get out of danger within your iframes.
Got deboosted up, and that was it. But I got hit out of the second spin, which should never happen. So I did something wrong there, and I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, is that the same strat you'd always do for Vitreous? It looked to me like your first slash at the beginning of the room is a little early compared to a lot of runners.
Yeah,
but
I'd slash early there. That's standard for me.
Yeah, I kind of assumed you knew what you were doing there.
Yeah, but as I say, I should never really be. I get hit on the first and third spins more often than I'd want, but that second spin, it just completely threw me, which is why I suddenly started playing safe, in quotes. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, so just ran into Vitty and died.
Well, heck, Vitty, just destroy him in your next run, and then everyone will be happy. But yeah, I was gonna say, so I think this is one of the last, I guess, runs for League, because it's only 3 weeks. Any thoughts about, I don't know, your experience in League? Better this time around, or
it's a ton of fun. I love it.
Oh, great!
I'll be back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I'm probably gonna take a little bit of an NMG break now because I got what I wanted. Like, today was gravy. I didn't care, I guess, in a sense. Like, I cared to try to beat Kaesden, but last night was what this built to over the last couple of months, so I'll take that.
Yeah, oh, that's right, yeah, because you had you PB'd by 1 minute 23 seconds, right? I mean, that is gigantic. Doesn't matter what level you are, that is a huge PB. So
I got restreamed for my first 2 races somehow, which I am super appreciative of. And both those runs, I had similar, I could see the progress. It was a death here or a death there, and the runs just fell apart. So I was just like, a clean run, it'll happen. I'll get one of those soon, and we'll just put together all these pieces that have been kind of aligning a little bit better. And then last night was that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, always, feel free to take time off, a little bit, especially after a huge PB like that, so.
Going for
Alrighty
123 is one thing, but to PB by 123 is pretty huge.
Do it again.
There's right. No, we got Rando to worry about now.
But there's always Rando to worry about, right? So,
It's always tourney season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
main tournament's coming up, right?
Yeah. So, and I guess it's also good timing. NMG League's gonna wrap up a little bit. Yeah, everyone gets a bit of a breather before I guess everyone jumps back into Rando. So, But yeah, no, I was gonna say, yeah, it sounds like maybe we can wrap things up a bit. Yeah, thank you guys so much for racing. I think at least from my vantage point, I don't want to speak for Rob completely, but I thought this was a ton of fun. This was a really good race between you four. So thank you so much.
Oh, yeah,
and thanks,
always,
Rob.
Always fun to do comms.
Yeah, no, thanks. This was great.
GG indeed, and big thanks to Clearmouse and to Rob for doing the commentary. And thanks for this 4-way race, as said before. We're gonna take a bit of a break on ZSR now, but not for long, because the next restream is gonna happen in around an hour on ZSR 1. Thank you all so much for watching. That's gonna be another match from the NMG League, by the way, between Ray and Fox, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for watching, take it easy, and we'll see you soon.